right, here we go. So today, it's really nice to be back into the flow of just talking about whatever, and not having to go by a more so like a strict kind of. I guess I don't want to call it like a script, but when I was going through the individuation process, right, like I had specific things that I needed to explore, and I just remember like sometimes themes. I was going to say things, but then I realized I can also say themes. Sometimes themes and sometimes things can appear forced, right? They can feel forced. I have, I have experienced things in my life that have felt forced, and I don't ever like that. And like also like the other thing is too like when it comes to like creating content and everything, right? Like I look at some of the content that I create and I'm just like, wow. I can't believe people actually consume that. Like sometimes I reflect on it and I'm like, that's boring. That's really boring. And like what I really want to start coming more with is like creative stuff and just like thinking outside of the box and trying things that are different. Just like, like working on different projects and everything and like creating projects and seeing where things go and stuff and that sounds exciting to me. I kind of want to like take that direction and see what happens. I'm really into like storytelling and like filmmaking and like like cinematography and all that stuff. Um, I have previously done work that kind of like sits with that. Um, I'm gonna explore something that I think is kind of like interesting. Uh, what I decided to do for the entire month of October is to listen to, and I did the best that I could. It wasn't perfect, but I did the best that I could. Listen to only classical music and nothing else. Normally, what I listen to is music like Tool, right? There's Tool. There's let's see, dance music and stuff. Sometimes trap music, um, future bass. What else is there? Psychedelic trance music. For those who aren't really aware of that, it's kind of like if you've ever heard of carbon-based life forms, solar fields. Um, but basically, what I'm trying to get at is that the entire month of October, what I went through was a process of like fasting from music. I'm very interested in this idea of fasting now because when people think about fasting, they immediately go to food, right? It's all about fasting from food. You can fast from so many different things, right? You can fast from music, you can fast from people. Go and be by yourself for a while. Like it's you can fast from TV, you can fast from social media. And it's just interesting because, we live in an era of what I would argue to be overconsumption. There is absolutely zero moderation, and therefore, because there's zero moderation, well, I'm not going to generalize and say everyone's like this because not everyone's like this. Many people have moderation and they're able to be disciplined in that, you know, in that regard. And that's important. Um, so yeah, but like what I'm looking at now is, like I want to thoroughly and sincerely enjoy the things that are happening in my life on a day-to-day basis. Like be 100% present with them and like actually like taking in like like when it comes to like listening to a song, right? Like actually like when the very first time that you heard a song that just blew you out of the water, right? Just it blew your mind all over the wall, right? Metaphor, of course, not actually. Just just like like wow, like that song is amazing, right? Um, it yeah, I just wanted to make sure I was putting that together as a metaphor so people understood that and they didn't think of that as you know anything bad. Um, yeah, so I look at that kind of stuff and like the very first time that I've heard music for the first time, or I should say, the times that I've heard music for the first time. Like I look at those things and I'm like, like there are very specific experiences happening there. Like I remember when I listened to songs by Tool for the first time. When I listened to their new album, um, Fear Inoculum, right? And not I get it. Not everyone's into Tool. Whatever it is that you're into, when you experience something for the first time, right? It has a very sincere kind of vibe, right? And I'm very interested in further understanding that. Not only because we are a society and culture that a far majority of the people do not practice moderation, because they didn't learn it and they never decided to take the time themselves to learn it. They're just overclocked on all the feelings and it's just drained at that point, So like, it's really important for me to kind of like take a step back or take multiple step backs to really like reevaluate myself and like actually like figure out what it is that I want. Um, and really like actually like taking the time to not indulge in stuff is super important because when you can get a fresh, I mean it's not going to be entirely fresh because maybe you previously experienced something and that's just the way that it is, but like, you know just stepping away from something for a while. I remember actually I remember when I was working on a piece of music and I was going at it, I was going at it, and I felt stuck, right? And then I believe it was a friend of mine who's also a music producer. Um, I reached out to him. I was like, I'm stuck, man. I'm stuck, and he was like, step away from it, take a month off, and then reapproach it. And that's what I did, and then like I was able to finish it and stuff. And it's so interesting how that works, like sometimes what we need is to not keep, like approaching something over and over and over again. What we need is to just like walk away and then reapproach it. Or maybe we need to look at it upside down, or maybe we need to look at it, from a different perspective. Um, it changes the dynamics of things. You know, very often what I've been thinking about is like human emotional state because human beings are very emotional, right? Whether mature or immature, humans, and even like the most emotionally mature humans out there, can get like sucked back into bullshit. It's very interesting to to kind of like think about it and to ponder and to explore that. So yeah, it's just so interesting. Fasting from things really gives you a sense of perspective and understanding. It helps you to see the bigger picture of things and understand what's going on. So, yeah, just to kind of like talk a little bit more about what I was talking about yesterday. Um, Being present for me is something that's super important. That's another reason why I fasted from any other music besides classical. One, because I wanted to give myself a much more thorough understanding and taste of classical music. But just taking a step back is really good. It gives you a very necessary perspective that you probably wouldn't otherwise have. And I fully advocate for that. So, yeah, just like getting back to the whole presence thing. It's it's important to it's important to be present in life, and as I have mentioned before, um, throughout my life, I have struggled to remain present for reasons that I'm not going to get into again. Um, Not that I'm not going to get into them again, but like just reminding that that is a boundary, and I don't talk about that here unless anything, you know, changes. So, um, yeah, presence for me is very important because I I had struggled with that all of my life, but not anymore. Presence, consistency, persistency, showing up, following through, all that kind of stuff. So this is very rewarding for me. This time that I'm in my life is very rewarding for me. There's a lot of insight, a lot of realization, a lot of actualization, a lot of healing, and it's a lot of fun. But it's also very exhausting at the same time because like it's kind of I came up with this neat kind of like metaphor or analogy that I think is really helpful to kind of like describe exactly what's going on here. And that is that basically healing is like when you have multiple um, backed up, or not backed up, maybe like unprocessed downloads of something, right? And what you need to do is resolve those, right? Because previously what happened was your emotional response to the experiences was not congruent with, or I should say your response to the experience or the experiences, your responses, there we go, your responses to the experience or the experiences, they were not congruent with how you felt. And so you have to go back into every single experience and relive it and feel exactly what you need to feel, because then that teaches you the healthy response. And that's literally what healing is. Healing is to experience the exact opposite of what you previously experienced. So if what you previously experienced was shutting the fuck down and not screaming your fucking brains out at the face of the person who fucked you over, it means reliving that experience, going into it, visualizing it, seeing it, feeling it, and then screaming your fucking brains out and saying exactly what it is that you needed to. I sincerely dislike that humans have. I don't know enough about the history aspect of it, but I sincerely dislike that humans have, like, gone onto this path of trying to control people's emotions. By the way, I'm not excluding myself from this picture. It's just fucking gross. It's stupid. It's like the very reason that I'm fucked up is because somebody else's actions, behaviors, thoughts, opinions, beliefs, ideas, all that kind of stuff fucked me up. You know, it's just projections. We really need to stop projecting our bullshit onto each other. Like genuinely, it needs to fucking stop. It's absurd. It's fucking ridiculous. So like for instance, like just to give an idea um regarding like projections for those that aren't very aware of this stuff. Whenever someone tells you that you're not good enough or this, that, and the other, that thing that they say to you, that when they say it to you, you have that feeling inside of you that hurts. But then also potentially there's this deeper feeling inside of you that is aware that it has nothing to do with you. Yeah, these are projections. Or whenever you hear someone say, well, I would have done this, or no, it doesn't matter what the fuck you would have done. What matters is what I did and what I need to learn from what happened, right? It's genuinely fucking absurd. It's noisy and fucking annoying when people project. Like I'm not gonna sit here and sugarcoat it. It's fucking disgusting. Um, see, feeling my shit. But truly, it's no, um, yeah. That's about it.